AusIndustry recently consulted with the Australian Taxation Office and the Department of Health to collate and release a draft determination for consultation and feedback relating to clinical trials. This is the first R&D tax incentive determination published and can be found at consult.industry.gov.au. The consultation period for this determination ends 17th February 2022. Recent legislative reforms have led to the introduction of a determination publication system in the administration of the R&D tax incentive. Determinations are new, public, binding, notifiable instruments. They set out how the law is applied by the department. It is anticipated that they will operate similarly to the way that the ATO's public ruling system operates in expressing the ATO's view on application of tax law. In the draft document, AusIndustry notes a few important things. Firstly, the phases of trial are classified as follows. Phase 0 clinical trial means exploratory studies or pilot studies that are used to show how the body responds to an unapproved therapeutic good before Phase 1 clinical trials. Phase 1 clinical trials mean clinical trials that involve the first administration of the unapproved therapeutic good on healthy humans to determine the safety of the good, how it works, how well it is tolerated, and to identify preferred routes of administration. Phase 2 clinical trials are the first trials of the unapproved therapeutic good in patients suffering from the condition for which the good is intended. The principal aim of these clinical trials is to determine effectiveness and safety of the unapproved therapeutic good. Phase 3 clinical trials involve greater numbers of patients compared to Phase 1 and Phase 2 clinical trials, and are undertaken for the purpose of determining whether the unapproved therapeutic good confers clinical benefit for which effectiveness was demonstrated in Phase 2 clinical trials. They also determine the nature and likelihood of any side effects. Phase 4 clinical trials are those clinical trials undertaken in Australia after the previously unapproved therapeutic good has been approved for the treatment of a particular disease. This could be in or external to Australia. Phase 4 clinical trials may relate to a good that is registered in another country at the time the trial is being conducted in Australia. Phase 4 clinical trials may be a follow-on study from a previous trial, and the rationale is that the data from the trial is being used to support a post-marketing study. Phase 4 clinical trials are also undertaken to further investigate the use of the good in the normal clinical setting of the disease, as this may differ quite markedly from the conditions under which the other clinical trials were conducted. This includes post-marketing surveillance studies. The following outlines the eligibility of clinical trials. Clinical trials phases 0, 1, 2, and 3 have been determined to be eligible core R&D activities where they relate to goods that are A. Notified pursuant to the relevant items in the Therapeutic Goods Regulations 1990 or the Therapeutic Goods Medical Devices Regulations 2002, or B. Approved pursuant to the relevant sections of the Therapeutic Goods Act 1989. However, none of the following will be core R&D activities. Any clinical trials of generic products, Phase 4 clinical trials, activities that are already otherwise excluded from being eligible core R&D activities as found in the Income Tax Assessment Act 1997, or activities that are not or will not be conducted in accordance with all applicable approvals, regulatory requirements, and standards that are in force at the time clinical trials in phases 0 to 3 are being conducted. This determination is generally consistent with existing understandings of the eligibility of clinical trials. The publication is, however, welcome in providing greater clarity and certainty for companies who may wish to register such activity under the R&D tax incentive. Once again, the feedback period ends 17th of February 2022. AusIndustry has stated what they would like to hear. Firstly, whether you believe they have got the determination correct. Secondly, how your organisation would use the determination if implemented. Thirdly, any positive or negative consequences you foresee from the determination. And finally, your feedback on the determination. Further details can be found on their website. Following the completion of the consultation process and the final release of this determination, AusIndustry may release determinations applicable to other industries or issues impacting the administration of the R&D tax incentive. You can also contact the ATO or Swanson Reed for other R&D queries. Thank you for watching this presentation.